And welcome to the place for offbeat commentary and comedy on today's hot topics. A place to get unique perspectives and opinions. A place where political correctness is checked at the door, but not our manners. A place where common sense prevails in uncommon times. Welcome to Billosophy. Chant. Boy, it's been a long time since the jungle's been rumbling down there on the Ohio River. Hey, welcome to our Super Bowl preview. Super Bowl number LVI.
Roman numerals. Here we go. This is hard. Oh, there's I, V, 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 I, V, I, V, I, X, 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 I, X, I, X, I, X, I, V, X, V, X, V, I, X, V, I, X, V, I, wheels on a big rig.
And that would be number 56 for those of you who did not study Roman numerals in math class. So here we go. We're going to talk about the matchup between the Los Angeles Rams, formerly the St. Louis Rams, and before then the Los Angeles Rams, versus the always and forever hometown team of the Cincinnati Bengals. All right, so Bengals are a 4.5-point underdog in this, which we want. And by the way, yes, I am a bandwagoner. But we do like the idea that the Bengals are an underdog. They're not going to go in cocky. They're not going to go in thinking they got this thing wrapped up. They're going to go in knowing they've got a hard battle to fight, and they're going to play hard. And so because of that, I will give you my prediction at the end. But let's break it down here real quick. But first, let's have a commercial about commercials. All right. Can't talk about the Super Bowl without the commercials. A lot of people say that's the best part of the game, and there's been many games where that has been the truth. So there's always good commercials at the Super Bowl. Budweiser always knocks it out of the park. The big budget guys like Procter & Gamble and Doritos and mainstay companies like that, those companies have a reputation they have to upkeep, and they generally do a pretty good job of it. Sometimes some of the worst commercials are no-name companies that you've never heard of before, thus no name. And they want to make a splash. They want to come in and get a big audience and make a name for themselves. And sometimes they try too hard and those commercials fall flat. But sometimes they're pretty good. So anyway, let's keep an eye out for the commercials. And I'm sure that Monday morning there will be a list of what's being ranked as the best ones. And you can see them all on YouTube. Supposedly you can see some of the previews on YouTube right now. But I like to be surprised. Don't ruin it for me. Spoiler alert. Don't spoil it for me. Okay. So the commercials, and I hear they're getting like $7 million a spot. And I'm assuming that's probably like a 30-second spot. Maybe it's a minute spot. Anyway, that's a lot of money. It's a lot of money to spend on advertising. And why do you do it? We're not going to get too deep into the politics of the NFL because this show is about celebrating the Super Bowl and the Bengals' first time in it in 33 years, I believe. So it's well deserved. We want this show to be uplifting, but regardless of that, regardless of the politics and everything else about the Super Bowl, year in, year out, it is still the most watched telecast on television. 2021 last year had viewership of 93 million people. The second most watched show in 2021 was the AFC Championship, coming in at less than half of that at 42 million. As a matter of fact, 29 of the top 50 shows were all sports related, including the top 7. The first show that came in that was not a sports related show came in at number 8, and that was, I think, a rerun of When Harry Met Sally. Oh, wait, huh? Somebody's correcting me in my ear. Sorry. It was the prince formerly known as Harry and some chick from the Suits, and Oprah interviewed him. So congrats. They were the spoilers of the top 10 of all sports-related titles. Anyway, I digress. the reason why the Super Bowl gets big money is because a lot of people watch it, and I will be one this coming Sunday. Number 2, the halftime show. All right. We got to get all this important stuff out of the way first before we actually talk about the game. The halftime show has been kind of the marquee event for so many groups for the past 50-some years. I did read in a Rolling Stone magazine article that they pretty much said that all the halftime shows before 1989 weren't really worth it. They were just kind of they considered them just to be kind of a filler space between the game, and they didn't really understand the money-making opportunity and the marquee event that it could be for certain groups. And you know what? That makes me mad, because that cast from Up With People, those guys and girls sang their hearts out. And to diss them like that, not happy. But anyway, so this year's halftime event is Dr. D-R-E. How do you pronounce that? Dr. Dr. Dre, some guy with some doctor dude. I don't know. I don't know if he's an oncologist or if he's a hermatologist or what kind of tologist he is. But anyway, so he probably works for Dr. Fauci and is going to come out and talk about the importance of wearing masks at the Super Bowl in an outdoor event. That's the only thing I can figure why you'd have a doctor in on the halftime show. But Snoop Dogg's going to be there. I've actually heard of him, although at first I thought that it was the lovable Peanuts character, the cool Joe little dog that took naps on top of his doghouse and dreamed of fighting the Red Baron. That would have been a cool halftime show, but it's pretty famous dope smoker that's going to be there. So a lot of people are wanting him. This is the truth, actually. I'm not actually making this up. A lot of people actually want him to smoke weed at the halftime show. What's the over and under that he'll do that one? That's probably a betting line someplace. And finally, to round out the trifecta of entertainment nobility, we've got Eminem. And I don't got anything else to say about him. Is he the Motor City Madman? No, I don't think so. Anyway, but he is from Detroit, 9 Mile or something like that. That's the road. I drive on that road, 9 Mile Road. That's between Richmond and Oxford. That's the shortcut. Yeah. I know who we're talking about now. Anyway, that's the halftime show. And then we would be remiss if we did not talk about food for the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is it's like the Thanksgiving of all non-official holidays. But where Thanksgiving, you come in and you have a nice turkey and you might have some casseroles and some other good, somewhat healthy foods on there. Super Bowl parties have nothing healthy about them. They are a guilt-free gluttony fest, and by goodness gracious, I'm glad we have one of those once a year. All the chicken wings and pizza and chips and dip and anything bad that you think that you could ingest into your body, that's what the Super Bowl is all about. So bring it on, brother. But now, let's talk about the game. All right? So, it's going to be a good game. Both of these teams score pretty high. I think the over and under total points is like 48.5 points. Still haven't figured out where that half point comes from. Maybe they're having a new scoring mechanism for the Super Bowl. But anyway, 48.5 points is the over and under on the point score. I think the smart money goes for the over on that, but it's not my money, so you do you. But both teams are good. Both teams have strong offenses, and both teams have pretty strong defenses. Both quarterbacks were in the discussion for MVP talk. And Joe Burrows, the second-year guy from Cincinnati, he's the real deal. And I think that 10 years from now, he's going to be putting up numbers that everybody's going to be glad that in Cincinnati that he's their quarterback. And the Rams, got to hand it to them. They saw Matt Stafford sitting there toiling away year after year in Detroit, and they made a trade with a guy that really hadn't panned out. And they thought, man, if Stafford could play that well with that bad of a team, if we put some personnel around him, what can we do? Well, they proved it. They have a really good team this year. Then halfway through the season, they brought in a couple filler spots to round out their team. They brought in Odell Beckham Jr., who long since had wore out his welcome in New York and really never had a welcome in Cleveland. But, boy, he just hit on all cylinders when he got to Tinseltown. So good for him. Side note, he's kind of like one of my grandson's favorite players. And he's all the time talking about Adele, Adele, Adele. And I'm thinking, why does Trenton like this fat singer from England so well? Then it was actually told to me that he's a football player and actually pretty good. So Beckham came in, Von Miller came in. Now I'll tell you, Von Miller could be a difference maker on the defense. He pretty much won that Super Bowl for Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos back a few years ago. He's got a few years under him since then, so he may not be quite the impact defensive player that he was then. But don't count him out. He's done it once. This is his playground. So I'm just saying, watch him, Joe. He's going to have your number. And you got to be strong. Be strong. And so, I don't know. Quarterbacks, I'm going to give a toss-up to. I think receiving, we mentioned we mentioned Beckham for the Rams. And, of course, they have the leading receiver, I believe. Don't fact check me on this stuff, guys. That would take research to do this show. But guy by the name of Cooper Kupp. Now, if that ain't a football name, I've never heard one. Cooper Kupp. He had almost 2,000 yards receiving this year. Man, he's got some sticky hands out there. Check him for stickum there, Fred Biletnikoff. But they got a great receiving corps, and so does the Bengals. They've got Chase as their number one receiver, and that guy can catch rain out of a thundercloud, let me tell you. So receiving corps is going to be pretty much a toss-up as well, too. The running game, I think the edge goes to the Bengals with Mixon. Now, this is not going to be a running game Super Bowl. They're not going to go out and run the ball 30 times, but I think when they need to pick up some yardage, they got the horse in the backfield that can pick those yards up when they need it. Then it comes down to special teams, and we got Evan McPherson kicking the field goals. And I don't know, but if it comes down to like the AFC Championship game in overtime, when it takes kicking a ball through a couple sticks to win the game, they don't call him Money Mac for nothing. That's all I'm saying. So head coaches, both of them fairly new. Sean McVay has been in the league a little longer, and has actually been to the Super Bowl before. This is Zach Taylor's first trip. Young guy, let me tell you something. Neither one of these guys are going to do anything stupid that's going to lose the game for him. And Zach Taylor, with McPherson kicking field goals, he's going to take the points when the points need to be taken. He's not going to leave any score. He's not going to leave any scores on the table. First time to the Super Bowl in a long, long time. He's not going to do anything stupid that isn't going to keep them in the game. So I think the edge there, even though he doesn't have the experience of McVay, I think I'm going to give the edge to Taylor on that one, because I think he feels like he's got a little bit more to prove as the head coach of the Bengals. So, it's going to be a nip and tuck game. Let's see, but before we go any further, let's see what our dear leader has to say.
Let's go, Brandon. I agree.
Oh, man. Dementia. Not a fun thing to watch. And what's Grandpa Poopy Pants talking about anyway? Let's go, Brandon. But then I thought, well, maybe he's got a favorite player that is on the teams. So I went and looked. And sure enough, both teams have a player named Brandon. Well, so what do you do? Because both teams have one guy named Brandon. Now, the Bengals, they have a backup quarterback named Brandon Allen. And let me tell you something. He ain't going to see any playing time. So I don't think that's who he's talking about. But the Rams have a guy by the name of Brandon Powell, who's listed as a wide receiver but doesn't have any catches this year, but is quite the formidable special teams player. He's already ran back a punt already this year for a touchdown, and so he's on their kickoff teams and their punt teams. So you never know. That might be the game changer right there. So with all that aside, here's my prediction. And it comes down to something as simple as this. Doing it for the fans. And I could get all emotional here right now. It's been half my life since I've seen the Bengals in the Super Bowl. Practically, it's been half my life since I've seen them win a playoff game. But this year's the year. But the fan base is just rabid for the Bengals. They love this. They love this team. They like these guys, and they are all for one. And they are really pulling for the Bengals this year. Where the Rams, they're out in L.A. You know, you've got surf, you got turf, you got movie stars, you got this, you got that. You've got a basketball team that's playing halfway decent. You know, the Rams are kind of a minor distraction. Even though it is being played in SoFi Stadium, whatever that means, in LA. So it's technically the home field, but nobody local goes to the Super Bowl anyway. It's all the corporate shell-out people. So I don't think that gives them an advantage necessarily there. And I think the fan base isn't as rabid. If they lose, they're not going to catch the wrath of the disappointment of the fans like Cincinnati will. So I think all these little things, one by one, I think it spells the Bengals win. And I'm going to go out, and my prediction is going to be 36-28, Cincinnati Bengals. Write it down. All right, I hope you've liked that. I hope you enjoyed the Super Bowl, and I hope whoever wins, it's a good game. It's not a snooze fest. And if you don't choose to watch it, then why did you spend 15 minutes listening to me talking about it? Anyway, have a good rest of your day, everybody.